Let's start with two facts that should not be able to exist side by side, but they do, and together they explain one of the biggest misconceptions about retirement in America. Fact number one, 84% of Americans die with more wealth than they had when they entered retirement. Not the same amount, more. After decades of drawing from their savings, the average retiree ends their life with a larger portfolio than the one they started with. Fact number two, in a 2026 survey by Allianz Life, 67% of Americans said they were more worried about running out of money in retirement than about dying, and that number has gone up 10 percentage points since 2022. The result is that the majority of retirees are terrified of something that the overwhelming majority of retirees never experience. They spend their go-go years, the years when the knees still work and the passport still gets used, holding back, carefully, responsibly, anxiously, from a disaster that the data says is not coming. That gap between what people fear and what actually happens is not a coincidence. It is a predictable product of how the human brain handles money. And once you understand it, you cannot unsee it, and you will not let it quietly run the rest of your retirement. There is a landmark study in retirement research by David Blanchett and Michael Finke. Both are among the most respected researchers in the field. Their finding is one of the most striking pieces of data in all of personal finance. A typical 65-year-old retired couple in America withdraws 2.1% from their investment portfolio in a given year. A single retiree withdraws 1.9%. The number most retirees have heard their entire adult lives is 4%. That is the withdrawal rate at which, historically, you could draw from your savings every year, adjust for inflation, and be highly confident your money would last 30 years. It is the number that a generation of financial planners built entire practices around. But in reality, people are withdrawing about half of it. On a $500,000 portfolio, 2.1% is $10,500 a year. At 4%, that is $20,000. The difference is $9,500 a year in spending, roughly $800 a month, that most retirees are leaving untouched in accounts that are sitting there waiting to be used. And Blanchett and Finke's conclusion is blunt. Households are not going to change. They will continue to underspend even though they do not have to. Why? Here is the finding that explains everything, and I want you to hold it carefully because it completely reframes what is happening. Blanchett and Finke separated where retirees' money comes from and measured how much of each source actually gets spent. What they found: approximately 80% of income gets spent. Only 50% of savings gets spent. Income here means lifetime income, Social Security, a pension, an annuity payment. Money that arrives on time every month without the recipient making a single decision. Savings means the IRA, the 401k, the brokerage account. The balance you can see on a statement. Same purchasing power, same grocery store, same dollar. People spend 80% of one and 50% of the other. You have probably watched this happen with someone you know. Their Social Security payment hits and it is spent by the end of the month. They do not think twice about it. But they agonize for 4 months about a $4,000 trip they have been dreaming about since they were 35, with a $700,000 account balance sitting there collecting returns they will never use. And Blanchett and Finke name exactly why. First, complexity. A pension check asks nothing of you. But withdrawing from an IRA requires you to decide whether it is the right amount, whether the market is cooperating, whether you are taking too much, what the tax implications are, and how long you might live. Hard decisions get postponed. This one gets postponed for decades. Second, nobody ever gave you permission. You spent 40 years being told to save diligently, protect the account, never touch the principal. And then you retired. And nobody said the words out loud. That chapter is over. You can spend this now. So you kept doing what you were trained to do. And finally, your caution is partially doing real, legitimate work. And we will come back to that. Let me make this concrete with two people. Callum and Marvin Miller, both age 67, both retired, both with $300,000 saved in the same funds at the same investment firm. From the account statement alone, you cannot tell them apart. Callum spent 31 years working for the county. He has a pension. Between the pension and Social Security, $55,000 lands in his bank account every year for life, regardless of what happens to the stock market. Marvin worked for 3 different private companies over his career. He receives about $30,000 a year from Social Security. That is his only guaranteed income. According to the research, Callum's group withdraws about 6% of their portfolio each year. On $300,000, that is $18,000 annually. Marvin's group, the one with Social Security alone, withdraws 2.7%. That is $8,100. Same ages, similar balances. One person spending more than twice as much from their savings. The only difference is the floor underneath them. Both decisions make sense once you understand their circumstances. Callum's $55,000 in guaranteed income covers his mortgage, his groceries, his utilities, his Medicare premiums, every essential cost, handled before he touches a dollar of savings. When he takes $18,000 out of his portfolio, it lands on top of a fully covered life. It is genuinely discretionary money. His brain knows it. Marvin's $300,000 is his entire buffer against everything the guaranteed income does not cover. The new roof, the new transmission, long-term care costs later in life. His caution is not irrational. It is a rational response to a real gap in his foundation. Telling Marvin to spend more would be poor advice. But here is the price Marvin's caution carries. Over a 20-year retirement, the roughly $10,000 per year he withdraws less than he sustainably could add up to close to $200,000. Money he earned, paid taxes on, saved faithfully, and never used. 2 men, same balance, opposite correct answers. And the answer depends entirely on one number most people have never sat down to calculate: their income floor. There is one moment in time when American retirees reliably start spending more, and it is not their choice. It is the required minimum distribution. The moment the federal government forces money out of a qualified retirement account, Blanchett and Finke found that retirees increase the rate at which they spend from that account. The rule has nothing to do with how long they will live or what the market is doing. Once the money has moved from the savings account to the spending account, it is no longer savings in the brain's filing system. It is income, and income gets spent. The dollar amount could be identical either way. The person's financial picture has not changed. What changed is who made the decision. When the IRS makes the decision, retirees feel permitted to spend. When they have to make the decision themselves, they postpone it for years. At age 73, if you were born between 1951 and 1959, or at 75 if you were born in 1960 or later, the federal government will finally tell you that you are allowed to spend your own money. And people listen to that instruction in a way they will not listen to themselves. That naturally leads to another question. Why are you waiting for the IRS to tell you it is okay to spend an account that belongs to you? You do not need a federal statute. You can manufacture the exact same psychological conditions on your own schedule, at 62, at 65, at 68, without buying a single product and without spending a dollar. Here is how. First, start by creating your own monthly paycheck. Set a specific, fixed amount to transfer from your investment account to your spending account on the same day every month. The entire problem is that a withdrawal feels like a decision you have to make each time. Make the decision once, in January, and automate it. Now it just shows up. Now your brain files it as income, not as rating savings. You have just converted your IRA into a monthly paycheck without changing a single thing about your actual finances. Second, label the accounts. Have money arrive in accounts with specific names: the travel fund, the grandchildren fund, the home repair reserve. When money has a designated name, spending it feels like you are following a plan rather than breaking one. This sounds too simple to matter. It is not. The problem was never mathematical, which means the solution does not have to be mathematical either. Third, look at the monthly income number, not the balance. The balance is where the fear lives. A statement showing $700,000 invites you to picture it going to zero. But $700,000 does not describe your life. What describes your life is what it produces every month alongside your Social Security. Work out that monthly production number. $700,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate produces about $2,333 per month. And let that replace the balance in your head. It is much harder to fear a number that is visibly doing its job every single month. Fourth, start before the government forces you to. If you are 66 today, your first required minimum distribution may be 7 years away. That is 7 years of practicing withdrawal decisions before the IRS makes them for you. Take a withdrawal now. Route it to your spending account. Get used to how it feels. Do not let the first time you deliberately draw down your retirement account be a year the federal government selected. None of these cost anything. None require a financial product. Each one attacks the actual problem, which is not a shortage of money, but a shortage of permission. Before you decide how to use this information, you need to know which twin you are. Add up every source of guaranteed lifelong income you have: Social Security, any pension, any annuity payments. Write that number down. Then put your fixed monthly costs next to it: housing, utilities, insurance, food, Medicare premiums. If your guaranteed income covers those fixed costs completely, your caution may be costing you more than it is protecting you. You are Callum. The account is genuinely discretionary money. If there is a significant gap between your floor and your fixed costs, your instincts are correct. Job one is filling that gap, through delaying Social Security if you have not yet claimed, through a small annuity, through some other guaranteed income source that reduces the pressure on the portfolio. Do not spend more from savings before the floor is solid. Two different situations, two different correct answers. Find out which one is yours before you decide the fear is irrational, or before you decide it is not. The goal is not a retirement that ends with the most money. The goal is a retirement that uses what you built, in the years when you can fully enjoy it, without the kind of fear that was never supported by the evidence in the first place. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.